There we go. I think we're all set. Yeah. Yeah. And now I've got to pop out the chat. Put that over here into this window. Turn on live chat. Go down there. And I think we should be good. Okay. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Happy time zone to you folks. I hope you're doing well. Let's see here. JP Got Rockets has said, I have some things that must be done today. I'm afraid that I will not be present for our usual bi-weekly interchange. See you in the VODs. Well, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. Colin Mack, how you doing? Erskine, Scotland, working on Succubi to get them ready to multi-base for Kings of War. Nice. Lifeblighter, good morning from Pittsburgh. Hope everyone's doing well. Fungazi, how you doing? Good morning from lovely Washington, D.C. Getting excited for Adepticon. I am also getting excited for Adepticon. It's still like a month away, but I'm getting excited. Let's see here. Rod says, working on odds and ends as I listen. Nice. That's a good use of the time. Sulu says, good to see another PGHer. That must be for Pittsburgh, right? John Ashley Smith, has it been 2 weeks already? Absolutely it has. Dragonfire, morning from Quebec. Ariel Sanchez, good morning from the Brightline route, or route, to Orlando, Florida, itching to get back at my hobby desk. Nice. Doug Mossengren, I think I got that right. Morning from Southern Iowa, excited to get out of the sub-zero temps and into almost priming weather. Yeah. We're supposed to hit 35 today, which is above freezing, which we haven't been above freezing for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe. I don't know. It's been a minute, and yeah, like it's supposed to be above freezing. I mean, at least highs are above freezing all this week here, which is going to make all the snow get real squishy. But what are you going to do? Probably should have done that before I started, but whatever, you know. Let's see here. First time in a long time I've caught the stream. Well, Anna Meister, good to have you. VJ Morph, how you doing? Bruno, good morning, Uncle Adam. Hello, chat. Got back to kit bashing minis for Space Weirdos Trench Crusade. Have you seen the Kindred of the Abyss minis? Doesn't ring a bell. Kindred of the Abyss minis. I don't think so. Does anyone have recommendations for painting chair or stool? I have standard height table and want something better than a folding chair. I mean, office chairs can be good for your, like, they can be ergonomic sometimes if it's a standard sized desk. Like when I'm painting downstairs, I'm sitting on a stool that's got a padded seat, but it's a stool, and I'm on a higher desk and all that kind of stuff. But up here at the office, if you're sitting at like a standard type desk or whatever, some sort of office chair, you know, might not be a bad idea. But yeah, folding chair is going to definitely, I mean, if you put a cushion on it, it might not be so bad. But let's see here. Good morning from Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. How you doing, Frank? Hoping Amazon gets their act together and delivers my stuff on time so I can finish my son's bike build so we can finally go out and conquer the trails. Indeed. I do miss bike riding. I haven't really done any this winter because I don't usually do that. But I don't have one of those like big fat tire bikes. I've got friends who do, but yeah. 25th is supposed to be Squig Day. My local Games Workshop store hadn't heard of it. Do you know anything about it? No. I've never heard of Squig Day. Like, is it on the website someplace that it says it, or is it? Did you have a dream about it, or because I've never heard of it either. Maybe somebody here in the chat's heard of Squig Day, but I mean, I've heard you're not supposed to skip Leg Day, but I don't know about Squig Day. I would skip Squig Day. I think those guys they're bitey. Good morning from a pleasant weather, Oklahoma. Nice, good to see you, BF Bulldog. Grizz Tofferson. Nice. Happy Sunday. Hope your weekend's going well so far. So far, so good. Yeah. Good morning from Mustang, Oklahoma. Wow, that's fun. It's a fun place to say. Let's see here. Good time of day, everyone. How you doing, Ralph? Good morning, Uncle Adam and everyone. E King, good to see you. Roan, good to see you as well. Good morning from a icy, snowy Oshawa, Ontario, working on a Gandalf the White miniature. Nice. Good afternoon, everyone from a miserably wet and rainy Wiltshire. UK. I hope it dries out and the sun comes out for you at some point. My nose is itchy. Let's see here. Good afternoon from Kent, England. How you doing, Double Dip? Good morning from Cleveland. I'm working on a warband for 5 leagues from the Borderlands today. Nice. Good morning / evening from the not sunny Canterbury, UK. Molly, how you doing? Sleeping right to the last minute, Ontario. Nice. James PA or James Pa, one of the two. How you doing? I hope you're doing well. Terrier Halo, good afternoon, one and all. I can safely say my Jack Russell is a Chaos War dog. We've got some Chaos War cats going on here. I had to close the door because Rex had already come in and jumped on my desk when I wasn't looking and scared the pants off me and nearly knocked over my coffee, which would have been bad. So I was like, all right, you've got a quarter in you, so it's time for you to maybe not be in here, unfortunately. Like if he would just hang out over here and be cool, like in this little thing over here, that'd be great. But he wants to get up on top of stuff a lot. He's getting better. So he's probably about 2 years old now, so he's getting a little bit more calm, but still there are days. Let's see here. Good afternoon from a wet West Midlands. How you doing? Space Doc, howdy. Jesse Leppert. Good morning. Doing a very different task, rewiring an arcade stick. Nice. Hello from Winnicott. Long time. Good to be back. Good to have you back, Douglas. Good afternoon from Denmark. Finally catching one of these live again. Well, good to see you, Romy. Let's see. Good evening from Indonesia. Painting lizardmen for the old world. Kevin, that's good to hear. Lizardmen are pretty cool. Motor Breath Jazz. Hello. Hope all is well. Feeling a bit lazy this morning. Yeah, I was kind of lazy yesterday. I didn't get much done. I mean, I had a live show for the Irregulars. And had dinner plans with a friend from way back. Like she and I first met in middle school, and now she lives in Manhattan. She and her husband, and she was in town to help her mom and do some stuff and whatever. And her mom still lives here in town and everything. And so my wife and I got together and had dinner with her last night. But in between, I basically just sort of, I don't know. I played some video games on the couch. That was about it. My wife watched some hockey. It was just kind of yeah. So today I got stuff I still got to get done anyway, but I've also got a bunch of different things going on. So I suppose it was probably good to do the resting yesterday. Let's see here. Let's see. Sujet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. Good morning from Florida. How you doing? Grendel. Good morning. I'm putting some GW minis on eBay to get some old world ones going retro. Nice. Richard Wong, good morning from Colorado. Vulpus Nix, morning from sunny SoCal. Gym time with Uncle Adam. Well, that's probably also a good use of time. Sure, why not? Bass Beast, how you doing? From the Netherlands. I'm putting together the Gnome Blood Bowl team, hoping I get Warcry rules for them. It won't happen, but it would be cool. I mean, Christopher, you're not wrong. It would be sort of cool. I'm still wary about Warcry, because this summer should be the summer that we would get a 3rd edition. I'm not saying we should get a 3rd edition. I'm saying that we probably will. Or they'll be like, hey, that was cool, but we're not doing that anymore. One of the two, because other than they mentioned like a Warcry model in the end of the year, like best Warhammer miniatures thing, they did a post in December on Warhammer community. And they had like best, models of the year or whatever. And there was a Warcry model in there, at least, maybe 2. Otherwise, they have not used the word Warcry on Warhammer community since mid to late September. So that makes me wary. But, we'll see how it goes. Good morning from Ottawa, where I am really ready for the winter to be over. Yeah, I am too. I've just gotten to a point where I'm like, no, it could be definitely a good idea for it to stop. Morning from Boston, warm up on the way here too. Nice, Fist and Stone, good to see you. Morning from NC, working on some, see that, now I think that means Night City, but it doesn't, it's North Carolina, but it does make me think Night City because I've been playing a lot of Cyberpunk 2077. Working on some of my Battletech minis today. Hello, Uncle Adam, from a wet and windy Lake District, painting a Force for King James II. Oh, wow. That's pretty cool, Trash. I've been playing skirmish war games for 10 years, and this week I painted my first miniature ever. Well, that's cool. I just wanted to share this with like-minded peeps. Loved it. Well, great. That sounds awesome. Morning from a cloudy Milwaukee. Yeah, Jesse, it's cloudy here too. I had to I have this little key light up above my desk, and so I was looking very blue. So I turned it on, and you can change the color temperature. You can make it like a cool white or a warm white. And so this is what it looked like without, and then this is what it looked like on. So it kind of warms up my skin tone a little bit. Like I can go real warm, which makes me look a little jaundiced maybe, and then I can of course make it real bright, and then that's not good. Nobody wants that. But a little bit of one does want a bit of color. You know what I mean? So. And sunny days, I don't need to bother, obviously, because it's the sunroom. But on cloudy days like this, where it is just dead cloudy, not even partly cloudy, or partly sunny. Partly sunny is, I think, darker than partly cloudy, I think. I'm no weatherman, but yeah, that's the case. Central Iowa, how you doing? Terrence Miltner, howdy. Kindred of the Abyss is a project by Tabletop Time for a grimdark undersea faction. Huh, okay, cool. Tabletop Time. Which ones are they again? Are they the Australians? Or is that Tabletop? Because there's Tabletop Tactics. They're the ones that are in the UK, in Bath, I believe, is where they used to be. I'm not sure if they're still there or not. Lawrence and the crew. And then there's like a lot of other ones, like just, you know, there's just a lot of us that start with the word tabletop. So I have a hard time keeping track of everybody sometimes, but I can't. If the tabletop guys are the folks that are the Australians, then I met them at Adepticon last year, and they're lovely people. Good morning, Uncle Adam from Cornwall Health Hospital in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Well, I hope you're doing well. Feisty Crabman, how you doing? Good morning from Chile, Central Texas. Nice. Did you grab those files from the Discord? I haven't yet. I will today. I have not yet. Thought Engine, how you doing? Morning from Queensland. Morning from the French Alps. How you doing, Jean? If I'm gonna in that situation, I'm gonna suggest, or I'm gonna guess it's Jean as opposed to Jean, if it's from the French Alps. But I hope you're doing well. Loosely Collected, congrats to the Tabletop Time crew out of Australia on a successful backer kit campaign for their new miniatures endeavor. That might be what we're talking about then. That's pretty cool. Drummers' stools are very comfortable. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. But at least 3 weeks of sub-zero temps here, supposed to warm up a bit, but maybe melt some of the snow off the ground. Yeah. Morning from Warwickshire, prepping to paint a Scarab Occult Terminator. Nice. Good morning from Cleveland. How you doing? They're here. Many put on studded tires on regular bikes to bike in the winter. Yeah, I've seen people do that too. Yeah, but there's also a lot of, I see these now, these big fat tires too, which maybe those got spikes in them. I don't know. That's a good question. Bailed on the Relic Blade narrative, so making the time to finally kit bash my old red dump truck for Gaslands. Nice. When I was playing a little bit of Cyberpunk 2077 yesterday afternoon, I was thinking I gotta start finding some cool STL files of like sort of futuristic vehicles like have parked, you know, like in a board, because I'm starting to come up with ideas to build a cool Cyberpunk board and something a little bit modular and everything like that. I've had some ideas that, like, initially I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make like the sidewalk parts. Like you got the base of the thing, right? Maybe you use a mat, maybe you use a piece of foam or whatever, but you've got like the base, which would be the street level, but then you have the curbs that come up a little bit, and the sidewalks and all that kind of stuff. And in the past, for like more, say, modern-y type stuff maybe or whatever, I've tried to use MDF, and then you have to try to cut it and sand it, and it's a thing, and it can work, but it's also a pain. But then I was looking at a lot of the curbs, and everything looks sci-fi in that game so much that I was like, you know, I bet you I could 3D print all the curbs and the like sidewalks and all that parts, and that would be sort of easier. I mean, you know, the design would take longer, but then it wouldn't be out. Like, I can't go outside and do a lot of sanding. You can. I mean, I could do it. I would live, but it would be no fun right now because it's cold, although it is warming up a little bit. But that was when I was just like, yeah, I could design a bunch of cool, like, because I designed, if you go back and watch that video where I made that weird sci-fi like vent thing, the base that it's sitting on is a 3D printed piece that I made and then printed on my printer, and it looks like a sci-fi curb and gutter and some other stuff and whatever. And I'm like, I could just do that, and that would make a lot of sense. So Yeah, thinking about doing that too. But also then I was like looking at cars as you're driving around, and I'm like, I got to try to find some cool sci-fi cars on My Mini Factory and print some of those babies out. Let me see here. We got plenty of Rex in yesterday's irregular stream. Yes, he was in and out quite a bit. That is a good point. I'm already a bit behind because I was yammering on. Every day is Squig Day in my book. Interesting. Good morning from Alberta. How you doing, Sergeant Major 22? Morning from Costa Rica. How you doing? On your opinions, round bases, square bases, integral bases, puddle bases. How much lore you need depends on how much lore you want. Dust Tactics and Dust 1947 were excellent gridded war games. I didn't like playing. The only Dust that I liked playing was Dust Warfare, which was written by Andy Chambers and Mac Martin, and that was like in my mind a traditional miniatures game. But like when I first saw Dust Tactics come out, and I was like, "This is so cool! These miniatures, and they're like pre-painted or at least pre-primed, but they're like pre-built, and everything was cool about it." And then I saw them playing it at Gen Con, and I was like, "Why is it on a giant grid? This is a board game now," and it just wasn't for me. And then after that's when they came out with Dust Warfare, which was basically like, "Here's a book, it's a miniatures game, figure it out." And I was like, "That's what I wanted." And then 1947 version, yeah, it kind of went back again a little bit, and it didn't. I didn't enjoy it as much, but I prefer the more miniature style with the 3D terrain and the no grid and all that kind of stuff personally. Looking forward to printing some mechs today after I change the clear sheet on the bottom of my resin printer. Oh yeah. If the lore is to be believed, young squig be quite tasty in some stim sauce. I don't think I want to bite a squig. That sounds terrible. They've got big teeth. Good morning from sunny but not as cold, icy Connecticut, CT. Morning from California, just lucked out on the original Combat Patrol for Adeptus Sororitas, the one with a rhino, nice, as well as the Black Templars, going to give Combat Patrol a go. Nice, yeah. I am, yeah, so... So the most recent issue of White Dwarf, issue 509. Why is the 5 colored in? That's weird. Anyway, issue 509. It has this thing on the cover, and it says Nightly Conflict. Combat Patrol rules for Imperial and Chaos Knights. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And so there are 2 new Combat Patrols in there. I wish they wouldn't put this cardboard crap in the back because it makes it... I have to tear it out because otherwise the book is all weird. Anyway, long story short is... So there's the Armiger Trailblazers Combat Patrol, right? And it has information and objectives and stratagems and all that crap. And then it has the 2 cards in here. They're not actual cards. It's just a piece of paper. But it's the stat cards or the data sheets or whatever they call them. And it says, Combat Patrol Detachment up there in the corner. So you know that this is a Combat Patrol version. And so the Combat Patrol for the Imperial Knights is just 2 Armigers. That's the entire shoot match, which is cool because that makes these Combat Patrols the cheapest Combat Patrols that are out there. All the rest of the Combat Patrol boxes are all $186 or something like that. These are $94.50, and you get the 2 robots, right? So they tell you how to build them. One of them is Armiger Autocannon and the Questoris Heavy Stubber, and then it has armored feet. And then the other one, it is Questoris Heavy Stubber, which is up on top. The Thermal Spear, which is like a kind of a melt-a-gun, basically, a big monster melt-a-gun. And then the Reaper Chain Cleaver, which is the big chain sword on the other arm. So that's how you build them, kind of like they are here in the picture. Cool. And then there's, if you go forward a little bit, then we get into the Slaughter Talon, which is the Chaos version of the same thing. Again, 2 of these, big giant robots. And one of them has an Avenger chain cannon and a Havoc multi-launcher, which is the missile launcher thing on the top, I'm pretty sure, if you can see up over here by my finger. And then it has, the other hand is the Slaughter Claw, which is just a big claw thing, whatever. And then the other one is the Avenger chain cannon, the Demon Breath Spear, which is basically a melt-a-thing again, and a Diabolus Heavy Stubber, and then it has armored feet for the stomping. And so I saw that, I saw that, and I was like, okay, well, I already have, as it turns out, I have a box with 2 of the Imperial Knights or well, whatever, the armigers. I have that box in my basement because back when I was going to do 1,000-point Imperial Guard list, I was going to take my combat patrol and then add to it and get up to 1,000 points and then play, whatever. And then that never worked out because I started to kind of hate the rules a little bit at that level specifically, and even and beyond. And also nobody else that I knew had 1,000-point list really. So I was like, well. So anyway, I can do that with the Imperial stuff, but I wanted to also do it with the Chaos stuff. Now you could just Chaosify an Imperial box, I suppose. But if you look, like, here's the war bands, or here's the War Dog Brigands. And again, these boxes, it's the same box because there's multiple different types. There's the War Dog Brigands, and then there's a couple other ones. But it's one of those multi-part kits that they don't do as much as they used to, but they start to do it now. And so point in fact is I was like, okay, I'm going to go to my local store and buy. And I went to my local store, and he's like, yeah, I don't have it in stock. I haven't had it in stock for a while. I'll see if I can order it. I'm like, okay, cool. And while I was standing there in the store, I went and looked online to see, and it says, as you can see over here, temporarily out of stock. And all of them are temporarily out of stock, both these and the Imperial ones. So what GW did in their divine intelligence is they launched a magazine with combat patrol lists in it for models you can't buy from them. Maybe over in the UK, maybe in other parts of the world, but in America, at least right now, these have evidently not been in stock for a while because I posted about it on Blue Sky. And yeah, some people have been like, yeah, those haven't been in stock for some time now. And I'm like, cool beans. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to try to figure out how to get the Chaos version of this box. My local store owner, and it's an independent stockist, as they say, not a GW store. My independent stockist has said that sometimes when they're out of stock on the website, that doesn't mean they're out of stock in distribution for stores. So he's still maybe be able to get it, but otherwise, if he can't, then I got to try to figure something else out. So mainly, like, yeah, it'd be cool to play these at some point. I think that would be fun. I think it would be interesting to see how playing combat patrol with basically, it seems very asymmetrical because in most other combat patrols, you've got 20 or 30 models and this one's got 2. And I want to know, how's that going to work? That's really the thing that's important to me is like I really want to know, how will this go against, how balanced will this be against other combat patrols? And I just want to kind of check that out. Plus, I really want to paint these. These are really cool. Yeah, I don't know. So it seems very G-dubs to be like, oh yeah, no, we got this new list and it's super cool. You should check it out and buy the magazine. And then they're like, yeah, we're not selling that right now. We don't have it anywhere. So anyway, but I also really I just want to build and paint those robots, especially the Chaos versions. I think definitely one of them, I want to just really rust it up real bad. You know what I mean? I want to use that technique that I used recently in the Trench Crusade, the Anchorite Shrine, did that video a while back about the stippling with the rust effects. I really want to do that on one of these. I want to make them different. I want them to be very, like, not just like, oh, they've got different loadouts, but they're from the same clan or group or, faction or whatever. I want them to be very different on the tabletop. The Imperial ones, I guess I could make them a little bit more alike in that fashion, but with these the Chaos ones, I really want to go a little ham on them and work on them on Twitch and all that kind of stuff. But right now, can't find the well, like I said, my local shop also had like one box of the Imperial ones in stock, but I already have a box of the Imperial ones in my stock. But yeah, the fancy schmancy Chaos ones, not so much. Anyway, so let me see here. Let me get back into the chat here. Random question, pancakes or waffles for breakfast? I haven't had a pancake since 2006. I had one waffle since then. I was at a convention in Texas, Austin, Texas, and the hotel had a waffle maker that made waffles that were the shape of Texas. And I was like, well, I'll have a Texas waffle. But otherwise, yeah, I haven't gone down that road since 2006, almost 20 years. Just lucked out on the original Combat Patrol I read that one. Let's see. Morning from Bristol. It was nice to hear you on the IC podcast. Oh, yeah, the Independent Characters podcast. Strange hearing your voice coming through the car stereo in my commute. Funny how it affects the sound of your voice. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, different types of, like, if you listen to it on headphones and then you listen to it in your car, or you listen to it like on a home stereo potentially, or listen to your computer. Everything's got a different kind of audio uh, profile, I guess. Plus, also, it completely depends on whether, like how they edit their sound versus whatever. Plus, that was being recorded. Like when I'm recording myself, it's always like right here on the, local, but that was over the internet, so that could have done something as well. But yeah, it was a good podcast. If you haven't listened to it yet, I think it's episode 252 of the Independent Characters podcast. Carl from the Independent Characters podcast interviewed me and Mini Wargaming Dave. It was a very interesting conversation. Good morning from Bremerton, working on Trench Crusade. Nice. Hope this morning finds you well, Uncle Adam, building some Vanguard Raptors this AM. Nice. I did find 2 versions of the Warhammer Games novel, but I don't think that they're ever doing that. The longest GW fan in me has moved on to either systems. Yeah, makes sense. We got plenty of Rex in yesterday. It's true. He was in there, definitely. Don't recall ever getting waffles for breakfast. Might warm up enough that I can unplug my space heater for half an hour and get a model airbrushed. I don't know, yeah. I think I might need a space heater in the basement for right by my hobby desk because, yeah, like especially when I'm streaming, like I'm down there for 3 hours and then come upstairs and I'm just freezing some days. Either that or else I need one of those like Mylar blankets that I can wrap myself in, like like the Red Cross uses during a disaster. Buzzregog, how you doing? Currently designing a board game inspired by Talisman. Nice. Been watching videos of using Age of Sigmar figures for Old World. Are there ways to have both round and square bases? I want my cake and eat it too. Maybe you could 3D print something. I would think that the square base would be the base that you would have on the model, and then you would snap on a round base to it, maybe. But that's a good question. I'm not sure. I think that would be the way to work best. There must be some sort of way to do that with magnets. Who knows how they work? But yeah, something like along those lines. Hockey and video games sounds like a good day. I'm not a hockey guy. My wife likes to watch hockey, and then she knits at the same time. And then I was just like on the couch there and playing video games. Because again, I'm playing. I have this little device that's called a PlayStation Portal, and it basically allows you. Like I have a PlayStation 5 down in the basement, but it's again cold down there, and I'm just like, so I can play it remotely upstairs. It's got a little LED, or not LED. I think it's an OLED screen that's probably, I don't know, 8 inches, and it's got the controllers on both sides, and it actually works great. I don't know if it works if you leave the house. Like if you get on your friend's Wi-Fi over at their house, I think you're going to get a bunch of lag. But if you're in the house on the network, it works great. There's no difference. So, or at least none that I can see because I'm not a pro gamer. But yeah, and then I can hang out on the couch and be playing that and have headphones on and stuff, and we can still communicate and whatever, and it's nice. But when it starts to get hot, I'll probably just play in the basement because it's cooler in the basement during the summer, so that's nice too. Working on French toast sticks now. Ooh, French toast sticks sounds pretty good. Morning from the Northwoods of NYC, off to the FLGS to get some paint. Nice. Hello from Germany. How you doing, Knobnap? What are your favorite Fnatic speed paints? Heard a rumor that we're getting a Warcry update on Warcom this week. There was a Warcry. Really? I guess I haven't checked this week. Huh, I'll have to check that out. Favorite Fnatic speed paints. Or wait, did you say speed paints? Well, it's okay. So there's Fnatic paints and then there's speed paints, and those are technically 2 different things. The Fnatic paints are the opaque paints, and the speed paints are the transparent paints, kind of like contrast paints or whatever. Fnatic paints, I would say I seem to keep going back to Bony Spikes. I go back to that color a lot. Fiery Vermilion from the new, what's his name? The new John Blanche set. I've been hitting a lot lately too, because that's a really cool, really nice red. And then as far as speed paints, Bony Matter I use a lot. Grim Black I use all the time. What else have I been using a ton lately? Grim Black, I honestly need a new bottle of Grim Black because I've almost used it all up. But the metallics, the speed paint metallics, I use a lot. Glittering Loot is the best gold color predominantly in the world, in my opinion. So yeah, thinking of starting Age of Sigmar Spearhead for Ironjaws and Seraphon. Nice. I've got Giants or whatever they're, Sons of Bahamut. I've got that one done, and I've got Skaven. And I was going to do Cities of Sigmar, and now I don't know if I'm going to bother or not. The Cities of Sigmar models are awesome, and I want to use them for something. I just don't know if I'm going to use them for a combat patrol or if I'm going to just use them for kit bashing. You know, give them like different helmets and stuff like that or whatever, and give them machine guns or something fun like that. I think that Phil, the Glacial Geek from the Army Painter team, I think he is using the bodies from Cities of Sigmar guys for the base for his Trench Crusade like troops. I forget what helmets he's using. Maybe just some sort of gas mask helmets or something like that. But yeah. Warcry might get Mordheimed. That's a sentence that some people understand and a lot of people probably don't. But I get it. I get what you're saying. Comp Native, how you doing? Howdy, Adam and Minions, warming up into the mid-high 60s today. Oh my goodness. What should we bring to TMX? Minis, models, painting stuff, party supplies. So if you're mainly just coming to play, maybe bring dice if you like to have your own dice and stuff like that. In most situations, the game masters that are running events at Tabletop Minions Expo, let me... websites. Here's the Tabletop Minions website. And we go and click over here. There we go. So for those of you that don't know, Tabletop Minions Expo is a little event that I hold here in the middle of Wisconsin, June 8th and 9th. Nope, June 7th and 8th. I was looking right at it. But yeah, anyway, June 7th and 8th. And it's coming up 4 or 5 months, roughly. Anyway, 4 months, yeah. So, oh shoot, that's another thing I was going to do yesterday. I've got more events to put into the event schedule. There's a lot of events for County Road Z, which is a zombie miniature skirmish game. But anyway, there's going to be some Learn to Play Necromunda, Learn to Play Trench Crusade. On Sunday, there's going to be Learn to Play Cyberpunk Combat Zone. And more and more people will start putting in events. But when you show up to play an event, generally you don't need to bring anything. Like, again, if you want to bring dice, you can, but you don't have to. In most situations, everything is brought. Everything is done broughten. And then you learn how to play. Like, that's the kind of the concept. So, bring money. It is Saturday badge is $18. Sunday badge is $12. The weekend badge is $30, which you'll notice is not a discount, but you do get 2 extra door prize tickets. So if you show up for Saturday, you get a door prize ticket. If you show up for Sunday, you get a door prize ticket. But if you pay for a weekend badge, then instead of getting 2, you get 4 door prize tickets. And there's all kinds of door prizes. There's a drawing on Saturday and a drawing on Sunday and stuff. It's fun. Anyway, oh, right there. I think that's Jordan right there. He's the one that's running Country Road Z. Country Road Z, like, he used to come and run it at the event here when he was like kind of planning on it and working on it and like even still play testing it and self-publishing it. And now it's published through Modiphius. I'm 98% sure. It's either Modiphius or it's Osprey, but I'm 98% sure it's Modiphius. So anyway, there will also be classes, painting classes. We're trying to nail down exactly what's going on with the painting classes right now. But in the past, we've had Sam Lenz and Zambies and Vince Venturella and Ninjon. I know we're going to have Sam Lenz and Vince Venturella this year. And I think Zambies and Ninjon can't do it. I'm trying to find a third person, and I'm going to get that nailed down. And then that you'll be able to... So this you'll have to pay online because there's only 16 seats. And so we can't just be like, yeah, show up. It'll be fine. The rest of the event, just show up and it'll be fine. If you just want to come and play and you don't have to like pre-register, there's no, none of that stuff. But if you want to, the painting classes, those are, now the other thing too is if you just came and you want to take a painting class, you don't have to pay to get into Tabletop Minions Expo if you're not like going to play stuff and whatever. If you're just going to go take the painting classes from one of the people and then skedaddle, great. So we're not double dipping you by making you, we have to do this and then you have to pay for that too. If you're just doing the painting classes, just pay for the painting classes. But if you want to come in and hang out and run demo or play demos and stuff like that, then, you know, you got the other thing. So anyway, I hope that helps. That and back to here. All right. March can be really awful. Yeah, sometimes. We've had some lousy Aprils. We've had some Aprils where I'm like, this is, no, you got to stop. And it's like, Good afternoon from Cyprus. How you doing? It's probably warmer there. Tabletop time equals Dave, Murray, and Jen from Australia. Yep, I'm 98% sure that those are the folks that I hung out with a bit and talked to at Adepticon this last year. Really looking forward to TMX in June. This will be my first gaming-related trip. How many events can we sign up for? I mean, you can just, as many as you can play. You know what I mean? Absolutely. I mean, you obviously can't, like, play 2 games at once, I don't think. OnePageRules is also going to be there as well. They're sending me some information about, like, you know, so what events they want to run and everything like that, but they'll be there. I had a meeting with Jefferson a couple weeks ago. So they'll be there as well, and there's going to be more people signing up and everything like that. So got my John Blanche sets today and a happy. Nice. Yeah, yesterday was technically the day, but I know I heard some people saying that they got their stuff as early as the 18th. So yeah, that's very cool. For anyone trolling eBay for old metal minis, you can find a lot of old ranges still in production around the world. Rapham, Real Partha, Grenadier, and more are still out there. Sure. Backer kit was for Kindred of the Abyss. Gotcha. Let's see here. Good evening from Finland. Got my John Blanche. I just read that. I just didn't read the first part. Hello from Sweden. A question. What price point should I aim for if getting my first 3D printer, thinking a resin printer? The most, I was going to say the most expensive. I was going to say, the most expensive resin printers I see are $500, but that's probably not true. I'm sure you can buy very, very, very expensive ones. But of the type that people generally have in their homes, I don't see them going over $500 too much. But $250 to $300, I've seen a lot of them as well. So there's that too. I think the ones that are more expensive are either larger or they have a lot more automation. Like, I know I was looking when I was on the Elgu site on Thursday night, looking for like video and screenshots and stuff like that for the video that I did on Friday. I know they had I think their newest printer, which is a 16K screen. I think it sells for $500, but I think it has a heated vat and it has like all kinds of fancy extra bits and stuff. It's also, I don't think, currently available. I think it's like they're sold out, but yeah, I think it's a $500 printer. So, but that's, again, the new hotness, the newest of the hotness. Fat tires are for beach and, I guess, snow. You can run lower pressures for more surface traction. Sure. Yeah, no, I see a lot of people around here in the snow on the big fat tires. Let me see here. Where are we going here? Fat tires. There we go. Good morning from Seattle, working on terrain for upcoming Alpha Strike campaign. Nice. I've got some of that in the basement right now, as a matter of fact, that I'm working on. Today, 3D printed tree bases and trees held together with magnets so the mechs can knock them over and easier to store. Well, that's a cool idea. Yeah. I think Papsicles on My Mini Factory has some cyberpunk vehicles. I know they have some Trauma Team ambulance at least. Yeah, I definitely was looking at the Trauma Team models on there yesterday during the Irregular show, and I definitely want to get my friend Dave to print some of those for me, so I got to buy some of those. But I'm going to look at some of his other cyberpunk stuff too. Actually, I don't know that Papsicles is a he. I'm assuming, but maybe not. I'm not sure. I look at their stuff. So, bicycle tires are getting fatter now, except for racers as a standard for better handling and avoiding tram lining at travel cross. Oh, yeah. Titan Forge on My Mini Factory lights the Cyberpunk STLs. I'll have to check that out as well. Unit 9, sure. Okay, that makes sense. Painting up some Thrashers for Future Shock. I'm also concerned for Warcry. Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, honestly, if they're just like, yeah, we're not doing it anymore, I'll be like, okay, cool. I mean, I got the stuff I got, and I could continue to play with, like, Sam and things like that. Lord knows I don't want them to change it much. Like, God forbid if they do decide to make a third edition this year and they turn it into basically Kill Team, where you have these boxes you buy and that's what you have to use and you can't use anything else and everything, then that will make me sad. But again, I guess at that point I could just be like, well, just going to continue to play second edition, I guess. But then you're stuck to some degree having to make sure that you're still playing second edition with other friends who also want to be playing second edition. That is part of the problem. People are always like, well, you can just continue to play the old thing. You don't have to play the new thing. And you're like, well, sure, if you want to play by yourself, I suppose. But in some situations, other people will move on because they just assume they have to. And so if you've got like a tight group and you're all like, we're not doing that new edition. I hear about that all the time, and it's great. But if you don't have a tight group who are all on the same page there, it does become difficult when they do that 3-year churn all the time and all the other stuff. The points updates and the rules changes and all that jazz. There are sci-fi car STLs on Wargames Vault and Drive-Thru RPG. No kidding. Huh, that's pretty cool. Were you playing Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone miniature game or the RPG? I prefer. I'm not an RPG guy, so it's the miniature game. Even though Rex is a handful, he is super cute. He's a cute boy. He's a handsome lad for sure. He's got thumbs. He's got looks like he's wearing mittens because he's polydactyl is the type of. I think it's a mutation. I don't know. He's a bit of a mutant. He's a fleshy-headed mutant, and yeah. So he's got thumbs, and he's a brown tabby, and he's a moose. He and George both. George is an orange boy, and he doesn't have thumbs, but both of them are units. They're big boys. Vesper Project has a lot of drones. That's cool. Been building a gaming board that can be used for 40K or Age of Sigmar. A lot of fun and pretty easy. Yeah, absolutely. They're Cloud Vaulter. Let's see here. Pezler the Polychromatic. That's a fun word or name. Good morning from a currently melty Saskatchewan. That's even more fun right there. Orcs grill squigs all the time. Grill them, you say? Interesting. Hello from Chesapeake, Virginia. Trying out painting in subassembly currently. I don't do it as much as I probably ought to, but there's sometimes when you're just like, oh, I have to in this situation. Big giant tower shields that they're holding in front of themselves. Yeah, you got to paint that separately, otherwise you just can't get underneath it at all, which is sort of a bummer. Are older spearheads in Combat Patrol still supported when new ones come out? I believe so. They're not like illegal. And they should still. I guess I haven't looked in a minute, but like when a new Combat Patrol comes out and replaces, let's say the Dark Angels Combat Patrol that came out, the newer one, which I think is less interesting than the older one. I think the older one's stats, that's PDF or whatever, are still available on the download section of Warhammer Community, but I guess I haven't looked. Like, you won't necessarily be able to find the parts in the store. Like, you won't be able to find the box in the store anymore because they stopped making the box where there's like a Redemptor Dreadnought and 3 of those jump pack dudes with the terrible jump packs that are 11 pieces each, and then like 5 regular dudes and I think a Primaris Chaplain. So there's like 5 Primaris Chaplain, 3 of those jump pack nerds, and then the Redemptor Dreadnought. That was the old Combat Patrol, and the new one is just like, how about 20 Space Marines? And that's basically it. It's kind of dull. But I'm pretty sure that the information's still available for both of them on the Warhammer Community. But good luck finding the box anymore for the original one. You might find it in a store that hasn't been able to shift it in a while or whatever. You might find it online. Or you just go buy all those parts separately if you still want to really play that. You can do that too, but it would be a little bit more expensive than buying the old box if you can still find it. So, I remember that old video of yours talking about getting interested in historical games as you get older. Port Royale by Firelaw Games releases on my 50th birthday, and I'm getting it. See, that'll happen. Sometimes it just happens. Final Girl on top of the pile. Which pile? I'm familiar. Well, I'm vaguely familiar with Final Girl, but I've never played it. Hello from Georgia. Been building a gaming board that can be. Oh, I read that one. I forgot the first part. Orcs Grill Squigs. Got that. Subassembly. Spearheads. Did the thing move when I wasn't paying attention? Probably. I had to buy a couple of those Dust Tactics models. Just too cool. Yeah, I've still got a bunch of the Dust Tactics models as well. Card bits in White Dwarf makes the bag really unwieldy. I know. It's annoying. Used to love that cardboard crap in the 90s. Some of it would be scenery. Sure. Can't wait for winter to end this year. Fell and smacked my hip last week clearing snow, so I ended up with a week off work. Oh, wow, that's no good. Did allow me to work on my Blackguard Phobos kill team. Well, that's nice. To be clear, I also don't like integral bases and often cut them off. I think a lot of people do. The worst for me is the puddle bases on plastic miniatures that still have to be put on a base looking like they're on a tiny hill. See, that's the thing. If it's at least in plastic, I find it easier to trim it away. It's when I have a metal miniature that has the integrated base like that, and you're just like the puddle base, and you're just like, ugh, because that's really hard to get rid of. Yeah. Round bases are better than square bases? I think so. Hello from windy Edinburgh, Scotland. I'm painting up some robots that are piloted by the ghosts of angry space elves. Sure. I know the elves aren't your jam, but their wraith constructs are cool. Nice. White Dwarf was best when it had a free mini on the cover. Oh, like a little single mini frame that you would. Okay, I've seen those before. Yeah, it's been a while. I'd love to build my own dinner table that converts into a gaming table, but I don't know where to start when looking for quality lumber. Yeah, the only place I ever go for lumber, it seems, is like I go to Menards or Lowe's, and I don't know that that's necessarily quality, but yeah. I love White Dwarf, but it makes me miss general games magazines. Things like Dungeons and Dragon magazine. Would subscribe to something like that. Sure, I think a lot of those things have just turned into the internet. You know what I mean? Evening from no longer icy Berlin, Germany. Nice. Slacker at Large says found War Dogs on Amazon. Well, there you go. The Chaos Small Knights are available from GW Germany. Okay. Yeah, it might be just an American thing. But it is... I was completely unsurprised, let's just say that, when I'm like, hey, you guys are pushing this new stuff that you don't have available on your website. Neat. My problem with Dust Warfare was that it became increasingly detached from tactics, unit abilities, and rules. 1947 unified it, gridded and gridless, to have the same stats and abilities. I like that way better. I just really liked the play style and the rule set for Dust Warfare. So that was why I played the heck out of that for a while. Available in the UK. Well, that's good. All the arms are interchangeable with the Imperial variant, so if you find the chain gun parts for cheaper, you can add those to the Loyalist bodies. Yeah, but I think that there's some bits, like there's that weird claw thing that I don't think is available for the Loyalists or whatever, right? I think it's only a Chaos thing, and the feet are definitely different than they are in the other one. Well, I mean, like, technically with the Chaos, there we go. Like, why doesn't this one... Okay. Well, that didn't get much bigger, did it? I really wish G-Dubs would just start putting bigger images in, because when I'm trying to like make a video, it's a real bummer when like the only video or the only image I get available to me is like 960 pixels across. I'm like, really? It's like 2025. I think you can make them a little bigger. Anyway, like this top hull is very different with the chains and all that stuff. The feet are very different. The weapons do look unchaosified to some degree, but the shoulder pads are also, I think, because there's some spikes and stuff. The smokestacks back there, definitely. So yeah, I think it's based off of the same chassis, but then there's like probably a couple of sprues in there. But, and the helmets are very different too, or whatever. Like this one's got more of a pointy nose helmet. There's a vulture on top of it for some reason. I guess I just realized that. But yeah, that helmet looks more like a Skeksis, in my opinion. Some nice shipping that they did there. Honestly, the shroud on this Meltagun, that's not as good of a paint job as I would have expected. Like, I think they would have been better served by actually doing it in metallic instead of whatever they did there. But it's just purple to orange, but there's no metallic behind it, so it doesn't look right, at least in my opinion. Who am I to blow against the wind? And then there's a bunch of the stuff, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they don't give you the other versions. I thought they did, though. I thought they give you other versions of the top part. Huh. Anyway. So, yeah, that's... I'm going to try to figure out where to find those. Because I think it does say, yeah, it can also be built as War Dog Carnivores or War Dog Stalkers. Those are the other types. So I think yeah, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, there we go. Let me see here. White Dwarf have some lead time in production, so things like this are bound to happen. Well, they have lead time, but they should also then at that point go, well, we know that we're going to launch this in February, so we should make sure to have this stuff in stock in February. You know what I mean? I'm wondering how much the White Dwarf team talks to the product team and, you know, all that kind of stuff. That's always a problem sometimes at big companies when just teams don't talk to each other, and that's a whole thing. Makes it so difficult to play their games. GW does that. It's like they're daring you to like what they do. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like the fact, still the fact to this day and age that they just don't have like a simple PDF that says this is how you get started. Buy this and buy this, and then this is how you get started. And they kind of just don't have that, or even a video or anything. Like they have a get started, you know, section or whatever, but it just has a bunch of different crap that they're like, well, you could buy this stuff and that might help, you know, and you're like, people kind of want their hand held a little bit, especially when they're looking at dropping big money on, you know, you're dropping $94.50 on 2 robots that aren't that big. They're not that fancy. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I was going to do a night combat patrol, or if I was going to do a night combat patrol, I'd be looking for STLs and print myself some cool puppies. I thought about that. I also thought about maybe just finding chaos parts and adding it, like 3D printed chaos parts that I could get Dave to print for me, and adding it onto some of the Imperial parts, chassis that I have. But I guess I haven't. I don't know. I should look online, I guess, maybe. Looks like it's just North America they're unavailable. Well, that's fun. The fact that they also have just refused to have a North American manufacturing facility is astounding to me. Like, it would save them so much money because they used to make some stuff in North America. They used to make some stuff in North America, and then obviously the most of it was in the UK. And the fact that they just don't do that means then they have to make all the stuff in the UK and then ship it over here. And from what I understand, I think the US is the largest market, so for them, so yeah, I just don't understand it. I wonder if then there would be more pushback when people start to sit down and look at it and go, "Hey, you're charging us this much, but you're charging people in the UK this much, and if we do the conversion, it's not in, you know, this many pounds versus this many dollars. Why are you charging us so many more dollars beyond that?" And now they can be like, "Well, we got to ship it over the sea, you know, all that kind of stuff." But if they actually start to produce it here, they might not be able to say that so much. I don't know. Good morning, creeping in from watching a college softball game in Chattanooga. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well as well, Kelly. My FLGS has 3 boxes of the War Dogs on the shelf as of yesterday afternoon. I know that doesn't help, but the stock variations are weird. That store still has some of the Christmas boxes too. I mean, every store has got different stuff going on. So, I mean, I can also look at some other stores as well, but I do want to give my local store that I normally go to at least. He said he would find out on Monday whether he can get the stuff from them or not. And if he can't, then I'll probably look someplace else or start looking around other places. But we'll see. They may just be like, "Oh yeah, we got that in stock," and then they'll just ship it, but they just don't have it on the website. What's your typical breakfast? I usually eat, there's like these Belvita, I think they're called, like little breakfast cookie biscuit things or whatever. I usually have a package of those and a cup of coffee, and sometimes I have like a Nutri-Grain bar as well, or like a banana. That's pretty much about it. Get my dose of pancakes in July. Interest. Weather has been right for priming again after months of it being too cold and or wet. Yeah, the humidity is also a thing too. It was a great episode of Independent Characters Podcast. Great group of people on there. Well, that's nice of you to say. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Now I have to know why someone would count the days since the last pancake or waffle. I don't have the days counted. I just know I haven't had one since 2006. So in 2006 is when I was diagnosed as type 2 diabetic. And so at that point I was like a giant disc of carbs covered in carb juice and butter is probably not the best use of my time nutritionally. So yeah, that's why I haven't had pancakes, because I used to really love pancakes. I really enjoyed pancakes, and I just, yeah, now I don't eat them because they're not good for me. So that's why I know the date. Well, not the exact date, but yeah, it was about 2006. Last pancakes I made, last pancakes I had were made by my boyfriend. He put vanilla in them. Ooh, that does sound pretty good. Yeah. Greetings from a walking track in Ohio. I'm just starting my second mile. Nice. You put the models on some rock terrain, put magnets below that, magnets in round bases and square bases. Oh, that'd be cool if you had like a tactical rock and then you just swap the bases magnetically on the underside. That'd be kind of neat too, yeah. Round and square bases. Mini wargaming do have inserts for round and squares. I generally, for infantry, usually use circles, as you can place them in movement trays. See, that's the thing. There's a lot of people in that video where I talked about the opinions where they're like, well, but squares are best for rank and flank. And I'm like, no, actually, circles are best for rank and flank. I think that one of the smartest kind of things that Conquest Last Argument of Kings did is they sell you the trays, right? I think it comes with the trays, actually. If you buy like a unit, it comes with trays, but the models are all on round bases. That gives them two benefits. Number one is that when they're on round bases, if they have like spears or swords or whatever, you can turn them a little bit so they're not poking the model in the back of the head, right? Whereas that was always a problem with Warhammer Fantasy back in the days. You had certain models, when you put them into your little tray, those guys have to stand in the front because they're positioned in a way where they're sticking out too much. And if I put them in the second or the third rank, they're poking guys in the back, and it doesn't work. So you're constantly like, no, this guy has to go here, and no, that guy's got to go there. When you just put circles into the trays, you can be like, this guy's just going to turn a little bit. And now he's poking next to your head, not directly into your face or the back of your face. So that's smart. Second thing that they did that was smart in that situation, just a cardinal came by and got some bird seed and then left. Second thing is that then, since those things are already on round bases, you can then use them in First Blood, which is their other kind of game. It's not a skirmish game. It's a little bit more along the lines of like 1,000 points of Age of Sigmar, kind of, roughly. But yeah. So, yeah, that's why another reason why like squares, I don't know. I'm very glad to see people, because the thing I used to hate when watching people play Warhammer Fantasy was when people's trays were just a janky pile of garbage. Like you'd have like a piece of chipboard with like tape on it and stuff, and that's how they were moving their guys around. And it's just like, ugh, it's kind of immersion breaking. Now with the old world, and the fact also that they changed some of the base sizes as well. Now with the old world, if you're still using your old 20 millimeters and squares, and you're supposed to be technically now on 25s, you can just 3D print a base that will have the inserts and they'll be properly spaced and all that kind of fun stuff. And so the people that I've been seeing play the old world now are using much better bases because they're getting stuff 3D printed, or they're 3D printing it themselves or whatever, which was not nearly the, as much of an option back in, whatever, 2008 or whatever. So yeah, that is nice to see. It's just a cleaner base look, in my opinion, too. But still, I think circles are better because then even if you're going to be playing rank and flank, you can turn them a little bit so they don't have to be poking each other. Good morning for Prince Edward Island. Painting some terrain with the bamboo A1. Nice. Oh, printing, not painting. Printing some terrain with the bamboo A1. Absolutely. Morning from Nutley, New Jersey. How you doing? Seraphon Spearhead was amazing for a change from Nids for me. Oh, sure. Yeah, I could see that. Hello from Cheltenham. Interestingly, I picked up that very same White Dwarf, the big Tesco, last night. I'm wondering if there are any good STL proxies for those nights. I guess I haven't looked, but yeah, that's something to think about too, I suppose. Mini Wargaming channel makes square trays you can put your round bases into. You can get STLs or have them print them. I hope it helps. Yeah, absolutely. I mainly picked up the White Dwarf to see if they might adapt the alternate objective rules from the combat patrols for the Sons of Bahamut Spearhead. Oh, that'd be nice. I think they're basically done with GW rule sets. I can understand that. I love Middle-earth strategy battle game, 2018 Kill Team, and 3rd edition 40K, but going forward, I'm going miniature agnostic. Yeah, I mean, miniature agnostic is a great way to go, in my opinion. OnePageRules is great. I showed the irregulars yesterday. But I got the. It's not miniature. It's miniature agnostic game, but they are selling you here miniatures now. But you can still play with whatever you want. But this is the Firefight, Grimdark Future Firefight, which is their skirmish game. This is the Last Stand 2-player starter box. And now I'll be frank, it took over 2 months from the time that I ordered it to the time that it showed up, because it's coming from Poland. It's coming from, I believe, Titan Forge, I think. But the models are really actually pretty good. The box is hard to get. Oh, I got it first try that time. Nice. I was fighting with it yesterday. One of the things I like, because it comes with not Seraphon, it comes with Saurians, I believe they call them, which are basically kind of lizard people, dinosaur people. And then it also comes with a Human Defense Force. So, I don't know, it's just a bunch of stuff in a bag. Or, you know, it comes with bases, which I'll probably not use because I want to use my own bases, but it's nice that they give you that. What I was really kind of excited by, to some degree, is the Human Defense Force guys. Because you know how, like, the old Cadians used to be real thick. They were some thick boys and girls. Everybody who was a Cadian in the old models, their wrists were all this big around. You know what I mean? And they were just chunky. And then the new ones that have come out since last edition, when they came out with the new Cadian models, they're more realistically proportioned, let's say. Like they're, like they look more like a real person as opposed to somebody who's just like heroic scale or whatever. These are back to kind of heroic scale. They are definitely, excuse me, a little bit thicker and stockier. Anyway, they're not bad. I like them a lot. They're decent models. They're made out of resin. Everything is straight. Nothing's bendy. There's one that's like holding up a sword, and they also have a rifle. And both of those things are nice and straight. Here, I think this is your leader or whatever. And that sword is straight. I can get it at an angle where you can see it. Like, it's not all bent and stuff like that. And the rifle that they are carrying pointed down, also straight, So that's good, because sometimes with resin, even with 3D printed resin, sometimes like during the curing, if it just kind of droops a little bit, it can be a pain to fix. And there's very little in the way of mold lines. There's a little bit, but they're almost those types of mold lines you got to shine your the light from your phone on to really see them, to catch them. So they're pretty decent little models, decent detail. I feel like the Saurians, the lizard dudes, are maybe just slightly lower detail, or I don't know, like this guy's he's a cool sculpt. He's like a big, huge lizard guy. You can see him, and he's got his big teeth, and he's got a big, giant double barrel kind of gun there that he's holding. But the detail is maybe just a touch softer. Not bad, though. So, I don't know. It's a 2-player starter. I think you order on Etsy. But if you go to like the OnePageRules website, you can go from there, and they'll give you the links and everything. And then, of course, you can download the rules, but there's also just the original, like, super, super free rules in here. And there's also tokens and blah, 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 and whatever. And it's cool. And the other thing is that you don't have to buy this at all. You could just use, Guard that you have now, or any other models that you find that you think will look like Human Defense Force. And the lizard people, you could take lizard models you already have and put guns on them or whatever. I don't know. But it's just kind of cool to see, like, OnePageRules going from, like, this is just all online stuff, STLs, PDFs, to going to a point where they're starting to get into physical products because they're doing really well. So that's also neat, I think. I mean, you'll probably start seeing stuff like that in stores. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to start working with distribution and whatever, so. Let's see here. Modifius is correct. Oh, for Country Road Z. Yep. I'll take March over April every year here in Maine. Interesting. Good morning from Austin, Texas. I am painting Norman Crossbowman while listening. Right now I'm using Lion Rampant, Raven Feast, and Baron's War rule set. I find this period fascinating. Nice. That's very cool. Oh, dear. There we go. Good morning from Gilbert, Arizona. Late, but here. Good to see you. I like to paint minis. Speaking of one-page rules, just logged into my Mini Factory account to see what STLs I have racked up since I joined the OPR Patreon next year. So very cool new stuff in here. Sure. Saturn 4 Ultra is where it's at for resin. Nice. I have an Anycubic Photon Mono M7 Pro. That's a lot of words, but cool. Quite pleased. Nice. Good thing we don't have snow in Florida. Oh, scratch that. Tallahassee got 4 inches not too long ago. It was insane. I saw some video yesterday. My wife and I were watching, like, I think Daily Dose of Internet or whatever, and someone sent in video of, I guess it was in Detroit. They had flooding and then it all froze. And it was just some person like looking down their street, and there's cars parked on both sides of the street because it's kind of an urban area, and they're up to like halfway submerged in ice. And I was just like, why have we not heard about that? Like, I didn't know anything about that. That was crazy looking. Like, yeah, seriously, it's just all these cars, and they're like, it looks like they're like it's flooded, like halfway upside, the door of the car. So it's above the wheel in most situations, but it's just ice. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Good thing nothing's really changing with the environment at all. Let's see here. I don't understand why staying in the same edition is bad. Just keep making models and people will buy them. That's the thing. Like, they could do that, for something like, for Warcry, they could just stay in second edition and just keep making models. But did I hear correctly somewhere that OnePageRules will start updating their rules yearly? I don't think so. I haven't heard anything of it. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think about painting on sprue? I don't do it myself, and here's the reason. If I paint on sprue, then when I cut it off, I have to go back and fix that part, and that for me is like no, I don't want to do that. So, but some people like to prime on sprue. That's something, I guess. I don't know. I generally just like to build the model and then go from there. It also allows me to get a better handle on mold lines and stuff like that. And, because sometimes there's mold lines you don't need to remove because they're in a weird spot that you're never going to see. Because once you put the model together, it might be like between their legs or down underneath their loincloth or whatever. But when you're going through and scraping the parts while they're still in the sprue, you might end up scraping mold lines you don't need to scrape. I don't know. It depends. People can do what they want, though. You should get that car fixed there, buddy. Painting up some zombies and survivors from the Zombicide Extras comic book miniatures. Nice. Painting another box of Battletech today. Did you finish your Alpha Strike teams? So I finished the Alpha Strike box. There's the 13 models in there. They're all done. I do have some more clan mechs I need to finish up, but I've been working on Trench Crusade. So I'll go back to those, probably not on stream, but I'll go back to those and finish those guys up too. And then I think I will be done with Alpha Strike for a while, because I'll probably have about 20 to 25 painted mechs per side, Inner Sphere versus Clan. And then that should be good enough, at least for a while. They squeak like cheese curds? That's not, I mean, they're making some noise, the squigs, when you bite them, I suppose, sure. Today I let my 10-month-old cats outside. It took them 2 hours to discover 5 meters outside the door. See, we don't let we used to let Diesel outside, but not just like let him go and then he'll come back later. We would walk around with him. Early days, we'd walk around with him on a harness. And then eventually when he was old, we were like, he's not going to go very far. And so we would walk around with him out in the yard and stuff like that. And he would, sniff things and chew grass and slap bees around once in a while. But yeah, we would just walk around with him, and he was never really going too far. He wasn't going to run off or anything like that. This past summer and into fall, we did start taking the 2 new boys, George and Rex, outside. But again, they're young, and dumb. And so we take them outside on harnesses. And even then, once in a while, one of them will see like a squirrel or a bird and just like rabbit off, and then you're like, luckily they're attached to a thing. But we don't generally just like let the cats go outside and dick around by themselves for a long time, because they will get run over by cars because they are not smart. So, yeah. We had an orange polydactyl cat named Bigsby. Nice. I wanted to name him Bigby because of the hand spells, but wife wanted to name him Bigsby. I mean, you could just call him Bigby. Use Mod Podge to seal some minis and it worked out fine. Interesting. Huh. Made the decision that the closest I'm going to get to historical gaming is modern era tabletop gaming, so I bought Spectre Operations 3rd Edition. Gotcha. I think I'm vaguely familiar with. I think I could spot the book at a store and be like, if I saw it and be like, oh yeah, I've heard of that, but I've never played it. Warcom does still have the old Combat Patrol lists and rules. I've been thinking of getting rid of my Tau box with the Ghost Keel. It's open but never been built. Well, somebody might want it then, for sure, yeah. I've got the Battletech Alpha Strike start box on the way. Any general tips for the models if coming from Warhammer stuff? The plastic's a little bit softer, not much. Like, it's definitely softer in detail. You're still going to want to look for mold lines, though, and scrape mold lines. But then once that's done, you just paint them up. They don't take a lot of work, in my mind. Unless you want to get really super fancy and do like a camouflage, like a pattern or whatever. Well, that's up to you. But you still do need to do some mold line work. But otherwise, they're pretty easy to paint, really. I grabbed the previous Custodes Combat Patrol the week before the 10th edition Codex drop because I wanted to paint some of the Sisters of Silence and those jet bikes. Still playable. Yep. Can you record the painting sessions at your expo for purchase after the fact? No. I mean, technically, yes. It would be possible. I don't know how I would do it. It's a big portion of the painting classes, because they're not really exactly lectures. They are to some degree, but it's also the benefit of like in-person classes like that is then like Sam or Vince or whoever will get up and walk around and look at people and be like, oh, yeah, see, so here you want to do, that kind of thing. And that's something that wouldn't be filmable. Like I could have I could shoot video of them if they were just lecturing and just showing, and I could do that. But a big portion of painting classes like that in person is the ability of the teacher to get up and walk around and look at people's stuff and then give them, advice and all that kind of stuff. And that's not something I could really capture. So, let's see here. Hello from wet and windy Ireland. Wargames Atlantic make bases with a rim to hide puddle bases. It also has a hole for gluing and a magnet. I think I've seen those, yeah. To get quality lumber, you really need to go to an independent lumber yard, at least in my opinion. It also depends on your project, because I will say that Depot, etc., are more affordable. Sure. Armatures are also in Combat Patrol too, not just War Dogs. Yeah. And like I said, I've already got a box of the Armatures down in the basement, so I will work on those for an Imperial version, but I was kind of itching to do the Chaos ones because Chaos is more fun to paint, at least in my mind. You can get your printer mate to do it. Chaos Knight STLs on my mini factory as Cursed Titans. Sure, I suppose so. White Dwarf rules might motivate me to scratch build 2 chaotic mecha contraptions, put them on the right bases, and have something to play with them. Yeah, see, that's fun too. Like, I mean, as long as your opponent is cool with it, and they should be. If your opponent's like, no, they've got to be GW models, you'd be like, James Workshop, is that you in a funny hat and glasses? Otherwise, they should be fine. You know what I mean? White Dwarf rules might motivate. I just read that. A little surprised folks are still making minis with integral bases. If I remember correctly, Citadel invented slotted bases in '84 and they became widely adopted. Slotted bases are better, honestly, because then if you do need them, then you just buy and you just stick it in the slot and it's fine. But if you don't, it's way easier to clip off a slotted base than it is to clip off a puddle base. The problem is, I think a lot of people are like, yeah, but I just use the puddle base. I don't know. I think there's like, for RPG people specifically, I think a lot of them are just like, I don't need a round base. I don't need to do extra. I just want to paint this one dude and he'll stand up okay. He's technically standing on like a surfboard or a snowboard and he's going to tip over a lot because it's not an actual real base, but whatever. I don't know. GW are aiming to expand to add another factory facility. Yeah, but in England though, right? It's going to be also in Nottingham, from what I understand. I think it would be smart of them to put one in North America somewhere so that they don't have to ship crap across the ocean all the time. I thought GW built a factory in Tennessee. I think long time ago they did, because Memphis? I think Memphis is their American headquarters. And there used to be a factory there a long time ago, but I think they don't use it anymore or whatever. GW probably gets some tax breaks for UK jobs. Yeah, it could be a thing like that too. Used to have a second headquarters in Glen Burnie, Maryland in the 90s. Not sure where they were made. Oh, yeah. But I think the main hub, the main headquarters in America is in Memphis, Tennessee, I think. That sounds right. At least to me, it sounds right. Games Workshop has been building a new factory. Just announced that construction was running overtime. Well, yeah. GW has the problem of being a game company that treats their product as a collectible and pricing accordingly. Yeah, you're not wrong. GW Tennessee fulfillment was closed long ago. Gotcha. Some of the new GW products that are kind of incompetent on so many fronts regarding GW project in the US. Yeah. I don't remember GW ever having a factory in the US. I thought like in the 90s they did. I've had people tell me that before, and I've never, they had a warehouse for distribution, sure, but I thought they also had like maybe I thought it was in the 90s that there was definitely something going on there. I'm type 2 as well. Really missed the French toast. Yeah. GW stock keeps soaring though with profits, so the shareholders are happy. I feel like that can only go so far. I could be wrong, but I feel like at some point they're going to be like, things are flat. And then that makes stock shareholders hate flatness. I don't know. They just don't like it. Every issue of White Dwarf that came from the Tennessee Center arrived like they were using the issues as tissue paper. I'm out here assembling Legions Imperialis miniatures, building a Dark Mechanicum army. Neat. Good morning from dreary Destin, Florida. I didn't think Florida could ever be dreary. Doesn't have to be GW, but a kaiju combat patrol would be cool. But not every faction has a knight that could take the board. Sure. Oftentimes when I Zenithal prime a model, the bottom half of the face is noticeably darker from hair, hat. Just how do I avoid that without priming the face so bright? So the thing about Zenithal is that you kind of have to like, and I don't have any of the models up here, obviously. They're downstairs. It's a really good, I've got examples to show you if you ever ask that same question when I stream on Twitch on Monday nights or Friday mornings. But like sometimes if you do a Zenithal that really just comes from straight down like that, like if you've got an arm out because you're holding a sword or a shield or a gun or whatever, you'll get like light here and then it'll be like black shadow underneath here if you started with black and then primed white, let's say, or whatever, the white Zenithal. And you have to be careful about that because it can be way too high contrast. So what I have a tendency to do is I will like kind of do my Zenithal and then I'll sit back, and I'm doing it with an airbrush. And then I'll sit back and I'll start to turn the model upside down and look for spots where I'm like, oh, that's too dark. And then maybe I'll do a little bit and just be real careful because you don't want to like completely blast white in their armpit. And you're like, why is it so bright in there? You know what I mean? So you kind of have to be careful about that, but you do want to look for places where like no paint hit and there would be still some light. Definitely arms and like some parts of the legs. But if it's real dark in the armpit, that's cool. If it's dark underneath their big beard or something like that because they're like a dwarf or whatever, that's fine too. It's part of why sometimes dry brushing is a little... Dry brushing on your Zenithal can be... If you're careful with it, it can be sometimes really good because you can use a big dry brush and go and then do all that and then use a small dry brush to get into certain spots and try to like blend it together. Rattle can is real hard to get just a little bit of spray in a little bit of an area, because that's not Rattle Can's thing. That's part of the reason why the best way to Zenithal is with an airbrush, because you can then control and kind of get spots and like knock away some shadows that are too dark and things like that. But it kind of depends. Listening while doing drywall. Speaking of Rank and Flank, have you tried Hobgoblin? I haven't. I have a copy of it, and I read it, and I like it. The artwork is spectacular, first of all, because it's Crom. Crom's awesome. But there was a part of me that I was like, maybe I could build a list for this, but I don't know literally anybody else here around me that does anything like that. So I would have to build 2 lists, but it is the rank and flank game that was closest to getting me to pull the trigger on building a rank and flank army. I'm not going to lie. Second production facility would mean having a second set of molds for all of GW's kits. True. And that would cost twice as much in the tooling and dyeing and whatever. But I would think for the amount of stuff that they have to ship over here that it would be a cost savings eventually. But yeah, I don't think they'll ever do it. I mean, at some point it'll become a little bit moot because all of a sudden 3D printing is going to get real good or whatever. And then they're going to be like, oh, so, Let's see here. Wish I would have kept my Virtual Boy that I bought brand new from Toys R Us for $30 after it flopped. Yeah, I bought this thing on eBay. Oh, God. I was working at... This was probably in the early 2000s is when I bought mine. Mantic Figs have gotten so much better than when they first started. Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies are getting better, you know, but yeah, Mantic as well, for sure. Look at, again, Parabellum Games, Conquest, The Last Argument of Kings. When they first launched back in like 2018 or whatever, they came out of nowhere. They came out hot, and they just had a huge line of miniatures very quickly. And I was like, wow. But then when you would look at them closely, you'd be like, oh, wow, nothing comes to a point. Everything is very soft kind of detail. Not the plastic's not soft. It's like rigid plastic. It was like the HIPS plastic or whatever they call it, HIPS. But the detail, everything, nothing came to a point. It was very soft detail. And that is because it is cheaper to make a mold that has soft detail than it is to make a mold that has very, very sharp detail. You need much finer little tools on the robot arms to get in there, and they break all the time, so you have to replace them, and it's a whole thing. So really super sharp detail like GW does is expensive. Whereas if you just decide to go, let's do soft detail, it's not as expensive. I think it's also faster too. So when they first launched, a lot of their stuff had this kind of rounded sort of soft detail. And then post-pandemic, they've been like, oh, yeah, that doesn't... And now the stuff from Conquest, Last Argument of Kings or whatever, from Parabellum, like their newer models since the since 2020, 2021, somewhere in there, have all been like real nice, super sharp, high detail models. If you've ever seen like they're like, I forget what the faction's called, but they're kind of like orcs and they ride dinosaurs. There's like a big Tyrannosaurus Rex with a big orc guy riding on the back of it, and it's a gorgeous model. It's so nice, and it's really sharp detail, which is really nice. So that's the trick, is that companies, like, if you're going to be doing plastic miniatures, if you cheap out kind of on the molds, then you get what you paid for, and you get kind of smooth models a little bit. When you're doing resin and stuff like that, well, then you're not using steel molds, you're using rubber molds. So then they can be pretty high detail. But the problem is the rubber molds don't last forever. So you have to constantly keep making new molds if you're cranking out more stuff. So if you're cranking out a lot of miniatures, it is better in the long run to go plastic. But small indie companies can't afford to go plastic sometimes because the molds are very expensive to make, and it's a whole thing. There's some excellent content on your channel. Keep up the great hobby videos. This live chat stuff isn't really my groove, or grove, either way, but I thought I'd drop in because it was live. Well, I appreciate that, T.I. Squirrel. Thank you very much. You've probably left already, actually, because I'm very far behind in the chat, but that's okay. I appreciate the sentiment. Morning from West Virginia. Played a game of Aliens, Another Glorious Day in the Core last night. Awesome game, decent minis. Game reminds me a bit of Space Hulk. Yeah, I've heard that too. It kind of has that vibe, which is neat. Kind of makes sense. I mean, really, Space Hulk is... Say what you will, but I'm pretty sure Space Hulk is highly inspired by the Alien and the Aliens movies. Well, because Alien came out in the 70s. Aliens came out in mid-80s? 86, maybe? I don't remember exactly. That's a great starter. Do they have a fantasy one too? Yeah, it's called Age of Fantasy Skirmish, 2-player starter. Yes, I forget what the forces are in it. I have it down in the basement, actually. I tried using Blackout as my human defense force. Not cheap. I mean, the models aren't... The models are real nice. I don't know. How much is it? Because I thought those boxes cost like $50, but you got like 10 guys in there. That's not... I mean, that's kind of GW prices, but again, it's also generally 3D printed, so it's... I understand why the price is a little bit higher. But then again, you don't have to build them. They have no mold lines. That's also real nice. Finishing up Sword Brethren Squad for 40k. Nice. Did you see Don't Look Back is doing a Kickstarter with some great new minis and terrain? Might be up your alley as a skirmish and fun rule set. That's from Blacksite Studios, right? That's Don't Look Back. Final Girl is by somebody else, but Blacksite Studios does Don't Look Back. I had not seen that they were doing that. Working on miniatures for my own upcoming skirmish game, Red Jungle, a Weird War Vietnam game. Neat. Such a neat little starter set from OPR. Yeah, I agree. The ice flood was from a water main breaking in the middle of the night. Oh, that makes more sense. Gotcha. But still, yeah. How is the M7 Max? Oh, someone's got the M7 Max 3D printer. Yeah, someone mentioned it was a M7 Mono or something like that. Yeah. Struggling to glue some plastic decorative plants onto bases to use as creepy mobile plant creatures for planet falls. Super glue and baking powder just about does the trick. Fiddly sweary. Yeah, sometimes stuff can be like that, for sure. Parts on sprue are nowhere near ready to use it. It's potentially bad an idea is car kits with sprues of chromed parts. Oh yeah, when the chromed parts and then you like cut them off and then you're like, well now what? And yeah, unless they hide the, what do they call them? Not the gates? Are they gates? Whatever the little part that actually touches the model from the sprue. If that's like if it's on the backside of the bumper and you don't notice it when you put it on, then I can see having it chromed, but yeah. I need to set up a little mini shrine at my office desk at work. I love looking at my models when I work from home and I catch things here and there that need to be improved. It gives me a dopamine spike. Nice. Good old Diesel, the drummer and bee puncher. He was a good boy. We've got one of those. I think it's called Aura. AURA. I don't know. It's a picture frame that we've got in the den, and it's an LED screen type of thing, or whatever, LCD screen probably. And it shows you can use an app and put different pictures on it and stuff like that wirelessly, and then it runs through the pictures, and it's basically all cat pictures. We don't have any other pictures on there except for cat pictures, but there's plenty of good Diesel pictures that scroll by from time to time, so we always can keep looking at him. But we've got everybody on there now. We've got Carlson, we've got the girls, Maggie and Margot, we've got George and Rex, because I've taken pictures of all of them. And then we've still also got Diesel. And then when we got Diesel back in 2007, we got him with a friend as well, and her name was Sapphire. And she passed away kind of early. She passed away in 2014. She had blood cancer, I guess. And so that was very sad. She was kind of my girl. Get a muffler. My nod to historical games is Silver Bayonet. Love the style. See, in that situation, it's I'm not super interested in historical, but Silver Bayonet's got like vampires and stuff in it and all that kind of stuff or whatever, and probably werewolves and all that jazz. So yeah, same with like Dracula's America and games like that. I'm very interested to see what they're going to do with Conflict 47, because they're making a new edition of Conflict 47. So we'll see. That's World War II, weird World War II from the people that make Bolt Action, Warlord games. I assume it's been mentioned, but it looks like Amazon has the Chaos War Dogs in stock, but not everyone likes shopping there. Sure, that's the thing. Like I said, I'm trying to get it from my local, so he's going to check, I think, on Monday to see with his rep. They're the biggest company in the industry, but you still have to call your rep to find out what's in stock and what's not. And when you want to order stuff, you have to fill out a Google document and then send it to them. Like the fact that there's not a website, a back-end website for independent stockists to go in and look at quantities, order stuff, go through all that kind of, that's crazy. Like the distributors out there, ACD is a distributor based out of Madison, Wisconsin. Alliance is a distributor based out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. There's a lot of different distributors out there. So for inside baseball, and I'm sure a lot of you know this, if you're a store, you don't want to reach out to every different game company to order stuff for your store. So you go through a distributor in most situations. So you go to a distributor and go, hey, I need 2 copies of Settlers of Catan, and I need some Hero Clicks, and I need this, and I need that, and blah, blah, blah. And then they put it all in a box and they ship it to you. And they work with all the different vendors. They're literally the dictionary definition of a middleman. But in this situation, it's useful for the most part, because then you don't have to call 28 different companies to order stuff for your store or more. But a lot of the companies also like to, not a lot, some of the companies like to become their own distributor because then they can cut out the middleman and they can make more money. GW is one of them. So if you have a GW contract and you're ordering direct from GW, it's like the Stone Ages. Whereas if you order through like Alliance or ACD, you go to a website, you punch in your username and password, and then you go through and you find stuff and you order stuff and boom, 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 and you get it. But with GW, no, you have to talk to a person on the phone, like a caveman, and then you have to like fill out a form, like a Google Docs type form and all this kind of stuff. And then I'm just like, seriously, you guys can't build a website? $5 billion market cap, I looked up a couple years ago, and you're probably still around there. It's astounding to me. Anyway, so who knows whether or not my local store will be able to get the good old these guys, the War Dogs or whatever, in stock. Because, yeah, like I said, temporarily out of stock on the U.S. website, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're out of stock actually through distribution, but there's no way for him to know without talking to a human on a phone, like Alexander Graham Bell. Anyway, puddle bases are often hideously unstable. Also true, though. Very frequently have a huge mold line on the bottom as well. Hello from Brazil. Just started playing war games. Love your content. Well, that's very nice of you. I appreciate that. Thank you. They used to have a factory in Memphis. There's still a Space Marine there. See, well, I know they used to. They still have the headquarters there, but I don't know if they had a factory per se. But maybe they did. I swear I heard that, but it was again probably back in the 90s. Late to the party, did you see they announced new Blackout units for the original factions today? Looking forward to more Manticore and Harlow units. I saw an email from them that mentioned something and also Adepticon, and I haven't read it, but I've left it unread so I can read it later. But I haven't noticed that, but that's cool. I always thought Silver Bayonet looked cool. Didn't have time for another genre, though. Sure. Stuck with Rattlecan for now, hoping for Airbrush soon. Absolutely. Do you still play Star Wars Legion? The owner of my local store, he is getting he's getting the rest of his Rebels painted. And we were just talking about this like 2 weeks ago. We need to go through and look at the new rules now because they've made an update of the rules, of course. And so now armies aren't 800 points, they're 1,000 points. And everything's changed and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so we both basically need to go through our stuff to figure out if we have enough points or whatever for 1,000 points, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, we do definitely want to play because he's got stuff at the store. He's got terrain, he's got boards, he's got the whole deal. We could easily play there at the store. It'd be no problem. And I want to. Because I had 800 points of Empire painted, but now I think I have to add more stuff. So we'll see how that goes out. But yeah. I think the HQ is Maryland. Distribution was and is in Memphis. Gotcha. Hi from Greece. How you doing? Has Drop Zone Commander improved? I pre-ordered from the first launch and got rid of it all because the resin had more bubbles than a glass of lemonade. I don't know, to be honest with you. Jesse was in here before, and I know he's a big Drop Zone person, so he would be able to probably answer that. He's, I think, going to be running some at the TMX as well, but I don't know. That real sharp detail also has a higher fail rate when injecting. I worked at an injection molded plastic factory during college, and Rockwell Controls had really high standards on their parts. Oh yeah, that's for sure too. Making something that sharp, like I remember still to this day trying to paint my Varangard models from Age of Sigmar. It's 4 big, scary Chaos Knight guys on Chaos horses, and they're covered in spikes. And there were several times that I did actually. Like, there was at least one time I did draw a little bit of blood because I was trying to glue them together. It was before the painting part. I'm a lot more ginger with the models once it's time for painting. But when you're trying to squeeze 2 parts of that stupid horse together so you get rid of the gap, and then you're like, ow, I broke the skin. That's expensive to make it so that the spikes break your skin. You know what I mean? 1986 was Aliens. That's what I thought. And the first movie was 1979. Yep. Alien Tabletop would be awesome. Sure. Boxes are 60, but same difference for Blackout. Was that what they are? Yeah, I guess you're probably right. Because the new starter is only I think it's 100. At least last time when I ordered my new starter, which I haven't built yet, well, painted, whatever. because again, they're 3D printed, so they don't need to be built. They need to be put in bases. But I haven't done that yet. Picked up the new two-player starter for Flintlock Port Royale. Really nice figs, great starter, nice. Got the Battlefield Trophies kit because I'm a sucker for skulls. Oh, I think I heard of that. Yeah. I'm new to the whole mini painting thing. I'm currently painting orcs, boys. Whenever I use a wash on the boots, straps, etc., it comes out shiny as all get out. Should I thin down the wash beforehand? No. Two things, potential. So if the wash is from Games Workshop, Nuln Oil is the black wash, Agrax Earthshade. Look on the label because they used to sell. They don't sell it anymore, but they did used to sell the wash and it would say gloss on it. So they had a non-gloss version of Nuln Oil and a gloss version of Nuln Oil. So step one, this is going to sound like I'm an IT guy and I'm like, did you turn it off, turn it back on again? But step one is just make sure that it's that it doesn't say gloss in big block letters on the front. Because there's a use for that. There used to be a use for that. People who wanted wash that still was glossy. If that's not the case and it doesn't, or if it's like, let's say some other company's wash, let's say it's Army Painter or whoever, then usually if a wash comes out glossy, it's because you're not shaking it hard enough or whatever. I have found that if I just grab a bottle that's been sitting there for a while, let's say Dark Tone from Army Painter, if I just unscrew the cap, squirt some in my thing, and then paint it on something, it will be glossy. But if I pick it up and shake it and shake it and shake it, then it's generally not glossy. If that's also not the case, then maybe you just got a bad bottle. That's a possibility as well. But it depends on who the manufacturer is and all kinds of stuff like that, for sure. Jim Crimmins is saying, yeah, you can also you can matte varnish spray it, or which is what I do in most situations. I always finish with a matte varnish pretty much, or shake your wash more. Yeah, if you don't shake your wash, it will come out glossy because it separates in the bottle, and then you're only using the top part when you're squirting it out, I guess. I wanted the new Cadian Minkalesque, but it is $80 for 5 models. Yeah, I know what you mean. Have you expanded on your Warhammer Epic minis? I remember you were talking about them at one point. You mean like the Legion Imperialis or whatever? Because I've never done any of that. I looked at Legion Imperialis and I almost pulled the trigger, but at that time when the game first came out, it was completely out of stock. Like I watched some battle reports. I'm like, they're kind of tweaking their rules and starting to get a little bit closer to like alternating activation. I kind of like what they're doing there. Maybe I'll buy the starter. And I went online and it was like, oh, it's already sold out. Never mind. It was like literally the weekend, of course, that it came out. Now you can get it, but now I don't care anymore. So yeah, no, I have not done Warhammer Epic. Yeah. First time I ever saw Alien was off of a bootleg tape on a Sony Betamax videotape player recorder. Indeed. It's a wet Sunday in North UK. Brilliant day for chatting and doing some airbrushing indoors. Nice. Hello from Russia, THX, for great content you made. Well, thanks. There you go. Gotcha, absolutely. Some AP washes are glossy. I think sometimes if they go on too thick, if you put them on too thick and the puddle can end up being a touch glossy sometimes, but I've never had the stuff be glossy when you just put it on normally, I guess. Why isn't Dracula's America a movie? I guess I should be happy, though. Sometimes games and comics make for awful movies. Yeah, but yeah, you're not wrong. That'd be cool. The rumor I heard from our local Warlord rep was that the Conflict 47 refresh was coming in September. That'll be cool. I'm looking forward to it. My biggest fear... It's not my biggest fear. My biggest fear about Conflict 47 is that they're going to make it so the old version of Conflict 47, you bought the Conflict 47 book, you played Conflict 47, hooray. I mean, there were some supplement things you could buy here and there and all that kind of stuff, but you could play with the standard book. I swear I heard someplace a rumor that Conflict 47, when that book comes out, is going to be a supplement and you have to buy Bolt Action 3rd edition as well. Otherwise, you can't play it. And if I have to buy 2 books for no good reason just to play one game, then I'm not gonna. And so I hope that that's not what they're going to do. And I heard this rumor, and I forget from who or whatever, or I saw it online. So it's all possibly crap anyway. But man, if they're like, oh yeah, we made it as a supplement, you got to buy the Bolt Action 3rd edition book, and then this is add on to that. not only am I annoyed by having to buy 2 books, I'm also annoyed by having to go through and page through 2 different books. And I'm like, no, you guys did it fine in the last edition where Conflict 47 was 1 book. Why couldn't you have done it again? So again, I don't know if that's what's going to happen, and I hope to God it's not, but we'll see. Because in my mind, that is, unless that Conflict 47 book is $15, then in my mind, that's basically a cash grab. It's just like, well, it's the same thing that GW is doing with Space Marines. You want to play Blood Angels? Oh, cool. You got to buy the Space Marine Codex and then the Blood Angels Supplemental Codex. Whereas back in the day, you just bought the Blood Angels Codex and then that's all you had to buy. But because they know a lot of people like Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, etc., they're like, well, we can get those people to buy 2 books because we tell them they have to. And it drives me nuts. So, happy war dogging. Well, if I can find the box, yes. Didn't realize the GW store supplies were so backwards. Oh, yeah. No, it is crazy the way that, like, for the biggest company out there, the fact that you have to go through all this telephone game and a Google document that you have to send on, because like you like especially for new stuff, they'll tell you about it on this day, then you have to send it by this day, and then they'll tell you whether you're actually going to get it or not on this other day. And if you miss any of that stuff, it's all, so. I typed in happy war dogging just before you said they didn't have any war dogs. Yeah. GW also forces a certain amount of buy-in for a minimum amount of stock you must carry. Oh yeah, no, that's very true too. Having been at the sales office at GW for 20 years, the idea was for the rep to build a personal connection and work the stores to buy more and push the items they were told to push. And that's fine. You could still have the calls and do that. Like, Alliance, ACD, like heck, I knew the rep at ACD, the old rep that my store that I would go to all the time. Like, I knew Cole. Cole was the rep, and he would like, because I would hear stories from Kevin, my friend who owns the store, talking about how good of a rep Cole was. Because Cole would call and be like, hey, you can do, this is coming out, and have you thought about this, and how's this, like, what's your levels on that, and blah, blah, blah. But then you wouldn't give him the orders, because then he's got to write it all down. You would just go onto the website and go, boom, and then so having the conversation is fine. I have no problem with that. But the fact that you then have to go through that stuff to find out the information and find out the levels and find out what your allocation is going to be and then fill out a Google Doc, that's the worst. There should be a back-end website that you do all that stuff through and then still talk to the rep. And from what my friend Kevin was telling me as well is that it's like he's on his like 5th rep so far in the last 12 months. It's constant churn, which doesn't surprise me. So yeah. Let's see here. I do Civil War and American Revolution and 28mm total mini commitment for both the time periods is about 1,200 models. Whoa, that's a lot of models. It's a different creature, and obviously not everyone's jam, but it looks amazing on table. Yeah, sure, I can see that. Our group prefers using our Star Wars Legion models with Xenos Rampant. I have a lot of people talk about Xenos Rampant. That's cool. I have the book somewhere. I think Osprey sent it to me at one point, and I looked through it, and I'm like, it's more of a army game, and I'm more into skirmish, but, a lot of people do seem to dig it. Howdy, Plito. How you doing? Greetings from Wisconsin. Any luck I'll end up running into you again at both Adepticon and TMX this year? Well, it would be weird if you didn't run into me at TMX, because it's not that big. It's small. But for sure, yeah, absolutely. I'll be at Adepticon in about a month. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it a lot, actually. This upcoming week is the GAMA trade show, the Game Manufacturers Association trade show. It's in Louisville. And I went to it last year with the Army Painter folks because basically my job was to go there and to show store owners and store employees and stuff like that, who are predominantly the people that are walking around at trade shows. It's not a game convention, so it's not gamers walking up and down the halls. It's game store owners and game employees walking up and down the halls, and then the manufacturers and the publishers are the ones in the booths. Anyway, my main job was to sit there and show people how to use the new Fanatic paints. But now the Fanatic paints have been out for like almost a year at this point. So they were like, well, we don't need you necessarily to come this year and everything. And plus they got a new American sales guy and they want him to kind of, learn the ropes and do all that kind of stuff. So I was not going this year, which initially I was like, that's fine. I, get one less trip going this year and that's fine. But I'm starting to see people that I know that I'm friends with on Facebook and stuff like that showing up and going, hey, I'm in Louisville and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I kind of wish I was there. But in the long run, it's probably for the best. Though, I mean, to be fair, if we really wanted to, I'm sure that Vince and I, because we are technically a game publisher, we could join the Gamma, group and pay dues or whatever, and then go to the thing if we wanted to. I don't know that there's a huge benefit for us to do that, but I guess I could look into it. I don't know. Not sure how it works in the USA, but it's interesting that for Canada to buy at retail prices, you don't actually need a physical store. Huh. My buddy asked how I primed my models before painting. He was shocked and dismayed to learn I brush paint with either thinned white or black and don't actually spray prime, just brush on. I mean, you do what you do. Whatever works well for you. Special painting helmet, how you doing? At my local Barnes & Noble, I picked up a box of Space Marine Adventures on clearance for $10 and swapped the heads with Seraphon to make Saurians. That's pretty cool. That's a smart idea. Absolutely. I want to take a bunch of the old Space Marines, not the Primaris ones, but the pre-Primaris ones. A lot of people call them Firstborn or whatever. And I want to do head swaps with them and give them like alien gray heads and then use them for Majestic 13 and other fun games. But I just love the idea of like the kind of chunky sort of like power armor and then just like a skinny little gray alien head coming out. I actually ordered some alien gray heads from Puppets War, which is it's like puppetswar.com, or is it puppetswar.eu? I don't remember, but it's a website. And they make all kinds of resin bits and stuff like that for kit bashing and whatever. And so those just showed up. I think I got them on Friday. Yeah. So I got some alien heads from them because they make kind of good, like angry looking alien gray heads. And, but I ordered a bunch of other heads from them too. I love heads. They're great. Can't tell you how many times I didn't notice that Nuln Oil says gloss on it. The letters are right there in front of you. Yeah, and they're like in big letters too, and it's right there, but sometimes you still come back from the store and you're like, oh crap. Like I bought I bought one pot of the gloss Nuln Oil back in the day because I had a specific project I wanted to use it for, and I've never really used it again. I don't even know where the bottle is right now. Glossy finish better for decal adhesion? Yes, in many situations, I usually throw it on like a gloss varnish and then wait for it to dry and then do the decal if I'm going to do decals. I don't do that many decals, but sometimes I do. Not usually. Painting Shatterpoint Mandalorians. Hesitated getting into the game because of the scale. Yeah, I know what you mean. I get it. But really loving the models and the random activation mechanic. Well, that's cool. Do they think there is a crossover for Conflict 47 and Bolt Action? I mean, they're the same rule set to some degree. And a lot of the models that you use for Bolt Action, you just end up using as well. Like, sure, you got guys in power armor and you got werewolves and laser tanks, but you still need just regular old dudes with Tommy guns too. So that's always been the benefit, I think, in my mind, of Conflict 47, is that it uses models from both sides. But if they make it where you have to buy the Bolt Action book to be able to play, it's going to tick me off. Isn't Drop Zone coming out with a skirmish game? I haven't heard of that. It would be smart of them to do so. I haven't heard of that, though. Hope you're well. How's your mom? She's doing okay. Yeah, she's doing okay. I was just over there Thursday night helping her with some stuff. Was that Thursday? Yeah, it was Thursday night. Yep. What was that sci-fi video game you played in which you play a survivor in an apocalyptic world scavenging? The Forever Winter. It's a PC game. I don't think it's on like Xbox and stuff like that, unfortunately. But it's called The Forever Winter, and I think you can get it on Steam. It is still technically in early access. What's the new Snarling Badger release? Looking forward to it. Well, we can't tell you yet because it's not out. But it should be out in late May. We're just about heading into layout. Everything is play tested. That's all done. Editing is real close to being done. We'll have a meeting tonight, Vince and I. And then my wife goes through and does another pass of editing. And then, yeah, I'll probably start layout. I'll definitely start layout before Adepticon for sure. It'll probably be, it might start, well, and I'm also talking to the artist probably tomorrow who's doing the internal art. He's basically done. Yeah, we're getting real close to launch as far as, getting into the editing part. And because I'm not going to Denmark in April this year, I will have a lot more time. And because I'm starting basically before the end of February, I'm also still just going to have a lot more time. So that's going to be really nice because when I did Death Wizards, I had 12 days. That was the entire, that's how many days I had to do the layout. So yeah. Cool and unique feature of Betamax was the ability to make audio tapes up to 8 hours long on it. Huh, weird. Let's see here. Double book sucks. Army books should be lore for people that want that. The rules should just be rules and stats. And if you buy the book, then you get a free PDF to back the book up. Yeah, I agree. Painting up my Death Wizards warband over the next few weeks. Nice. PDF should be free without buying the book. Yeah, I think that honestly, if like most companies are doing that, they're like, look, we want you to have the rules so that you like, you decide you like the game and then you start buying models. If we have to make you buy a book to find out whether or not you want to play the game, you're going to be like, but if and admittedly, GW does put like the core rules and stuff like that up for free. They don't put it someplace where like right up in your face where you can find it easily, admittedly. But that kind of goes back to before where I'm like, they still just don't want to tell you how to get into their game. They just seem, I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks if they tell you how to get into the game, then you won't accidentally buy as many books as you will if you just have to figure out, like if you really are like, well, I'm very dedicated to wanting to get into this game and you don't have anybody to talk to in your local area and your store owner is maybe not helpful or whatever. So you're just like, well, I got to have the core book. Yep. Well, and I got to have this codex. Yep. And you got to have this and you got to have that. And like a couple of those you might not necessarily need. So if they make it clear, then maybe you don't buy as much stuff, right? So yeah, but I don't know. I don't like that concept. I don't know if that's true or not. I hope it's not. I hope that they're just not paying attention, but there really should be some sort of document that says, this is what you need. Like the fact that you can get the core rules, which is not obviously the entirety of the rules, but it's a good portion of the rules. The fact that you can't get that, or the fact that you can get that as a free PDF is a step in the right direction, but there should be like a graphic. Like, is there a graphic? I don't think there is. Let's go take a look. Maybe I'm a total liar. But if I go over here to Warhammer Community, so there's a big yellow button that says downloads. That's cool. But it leads off with a big graphic here that says latest updates and facts. Okay, cool. And here's some downloads for some stuff. But there should be a big button here that says, there's new to Warhammer, right? And that explains what Warhammer is. Reject cookies. Okay, sure. Here's some videos. Yeah, you can definitely buy stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Get started. There's a quiz. I don't know. But like, I don't know. There should just be like, next step is head to your store. But you haven't read the rules yet and figured out if it's the thing you want. And I think that's the thing. There should be a thing here that says, here's where you go download the free rules and read it before you figure it out. But they're immediately like, why don't you go to your store and buy it or whatever? And I'm like, I don't know. Can I get a taste of Warhammer for free? Warhammer stores and events are a great place to catch demo games. It doesn't say anything about, oh yeah, go download the rules up in the big download yellow button up at the top, which is not on this page now, of course. So it just, they need to stick it right in your face. If you're new, click on this and then have a PDF or a big thing that says step 1, go download these rules and read them. Step 2, learn about lore. I don't know, whatever. I don't know. It's just that part drives me sort of nuts and I don't understand. I think I understand. I hope I don't understand. I hope it's not for the reason I think, where they're just like, well, if we don't tell them what to do, then they'll hopefully buy more stuff they don't need to. That is a thing I hope that is not the case, but I don't know. Where are we at? Anyone play Warcrow? I can't even find it. It's a Spanish company. If you're in America, I don't know a lot of stores, honestly, that carry... There's some stores here and there that carry that stuff, but a lot of stores, especially these days, if they're just like, the only thing that sells that I can, The thing you have to understand about local independent stores is that so many of them are one person. The same person that has to order stuff is the same person that has to sell you stuff, is the same person that has to clean the bathrooms, is the same person that has to stock the shelves and all that stuff. So they get overwhelmed. And so it's very simple. Well, I was going to say it's very simple for them to buy GW stuff and then just put that on the shelves, except that it is a little hard sometimes to get GW stuff. But in general, the idea is that if you put GW stuff on the shelves, it'll sell. Kind of the same with Magic. You put Magic on the shelves, it'll sell. Stores that are either more invested in trying to like really get business, or stores that are at this point large enough that there's employees, then somebody can be like, there's Infinity and there's a Warcrow and there's Warlord and there's like, and all these other games. And then they can kind of look at trying to stock some of them and see how they sell and track all that stuff. But a lot of the stores you end up going to, it's just one person just dancing as fast as they can. And so that is kind of a problem, because if you can't dance fast enough, if you can't keep up with what you got to be doing, the store's not necessarily going to be around that long. And then you can't get to the point where you have employees and so yeah, it is difficult. It is very difficult. The problem that Conflict 47 had was it was released in 3 books. Each book had rules changes from previous books. The rules weren't compatible with Bolt Action 2nd edition, so not all units could be used. Yeah, I feel like it should just be the same rule set, but again, if they put it in 2 books like that, where you have to buy Bolt Action to play Conflict 47, I'll be a little bummed. Let's see here. I like the look of the stuff Puppet Wars makes, but nothing I've ordered ever made it to my mailbox. Really? I've never had that problem. They've always gotten me stuff, but well, depends on where you're from, I guess. Like, I get the stuff and it gets delivered to me in the States. I'm, in Wisconsin, and it takes a while. It takes 2-3 weeks sometimes, but it does get to me. Now, to be fair, this last time I had to sign for it for some reason, and it wasn't like a big order, but for some reason I had to sign for it, and I was downstairs painting, and the mailman was knocking at the door, and I just thought it was someone trying to sell me like windows or roofing or something like that, so I ignored it. And then later on I came up and I checked the mail, and there was a card from the post office that was like, you got to pick this up at the local store or at the local location. And I was like, oh yeah. So I had to go do that and sign for it, but otherwise it's I've never had any problems. I think Puppets Wars in Poland, I did one order that took 3 months to arrive. The minis are great though. Wow. Yeah, no, I've never had that problem. Like I said, it'll take three weeks to maybe a month, but I've never had to go longer than that. Obviously, I don't think that Snarling Badger should just give away their stuff. I'm happy to pay for it. If all you sell is rules, then charging for rules makes sense. But if you're a miniature company that has a game, I'm not telling you don't sell a book, because some people just love books. But you should also just put your rules online for free for people who don't care, or for people who want to like try before they buy. There's a lot of that too. Like back in the day with software, there used to be like, there was shareware, but there was also like demos where you would like download it and you could play for like 2 hours. And then it would be like, okay, if you want to keep playing, you got to buy it. Or it would be like, you could play the first level and then you get the hang of it and be, oh, this is cool. And then you decide to buy the full game or whatever. What most companies do that aren't Games Workshop, because they have to compete with Games Workshop, is if they sell miniatures, then they are like, buy more miniatures, buy fewer books. You know what I mean? Download the rules for free. We'll give them out to you. And there's so many games that do that. And even GW, like I said, to some degree with the core rules, they also do that as well. They put out the core rules. And you can play with that. But there's always like some stuff like scenarios or things that they don't put in it that are in the regular book. But whatever. But yeah, if you're a company that doesn't really sell miniatures and you just sell rules, then yeah, you charge for the rules. That's kind of the way it works. Reason why GW does not specify how to really get into things to sell more. It worked on me. See, I think that happens, is that people are like, well, I think I need this and this and this and this. And then it turns out maybe a couple of those thises you didn't need. So what if you live in the middle of nowhere and have a local game group but no local store? GW doesn't understand that, I guess. Well, I mean, if you live in the middle of nowhere, then you're probably buying online because you don't have a store to go to. Or, and this happens too, sometimes you have a store nearby, but you hate that store for some reason. They're mean to you, or they're bad, whatever. They don't keep stuff in stock, or they have random hours. I did a video a long time ago about what happens if your friendly local game store isn't friendly. And I had a lot of people in the comments that are like, because I was basically saying, hey, you need to buy stuff from your local stores. But then there were people in the comments that were like, but I hate my local store. They're mean and they throw rocks at me or whatever. And I'm like, well, then don't buy from them. like if you don't go there and play, I'm not telling you have to buy from your local stores. You know what I mean? If they're hostile to you for some reason, don't buy from them. Yeah, those guys can go pound sand. But if you've got a local store that you go to all the time, but you buy all your junk online, that local store ain't going to be there very long. And then you're going to be playing in your basement or somebody else's basement, and hopefully they're not, weird or whatever, or at least not weird in a bad way. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. There isn't U.S. distribution for Warcrow, apparently. Really? Because if there's U.S. distribution for Infinity, which I assume that there is, I guess I don't know that for sure, but I assume, because I've seen Infinity in stores, you would think that they would just work with Corvus Belli and be like, oh, you got a new product? Cool, we'll distribute that too. That's really weird. It can't be just put on a distributor order, and that makes it tricky. I can get it here in Ontario pretty easily, but so far we have all the things. That's strange. I wonder why that would be. Huh. I'm assuming that they'll be at Adepticon, so maybe I could ask there. I've heard that there is a free mini of the month at GW corporate shops. Has anyone had any experience with this? Do they run out in the first few days, or you can pretty much... It's a good question. I've heard that too, but I've never, like, partaken. Let's see here. Missed the days of when software wasn't a subscription. Yeah, you, me, and both. I think whoever designed the Ashes of Faith cultists was a sadist. I had 3 thin pieces just dissolve because of glue. Well, that's not cool. That's no good. Puppet Wars is in Poland, but I'm in Sweden, so it's pretty close. That's true, yeah. Not ordering from them the third time is it's no use. That's strange. I wonder if it's just a problem with, yeah, like I said, because I've always gotten the stuff that I order from them, and it's not like I'm like, hey, I'm Uncle Adam from Tabletop Minions. I'm just like, I'm using my normal like personal email and stuff like that, so I don't think that they're like, well, we got to make sure this guy gets it, because you know, I don't think that's the case. I've literally never talked to those guys before, like at a show or anything. I've never seen them at a convention. Puppets War have a bunch of stuff on My Mini Factory. Sure. If you've got a printer, that's, yep. A lot of the companies that are making like bits are also now just like, well, we already sculpted it so that we can make resin versions here and to sell it to people. So why don't we also sell the STLs for people who just would rather, you know, it makes a lot of sense. I know Anvil Industry is doing a lot of the same thing. I don't know about Max Mini, but I knew I used to buy stuff from them. Cromlech, to be fair, I don't know if Cromlech is on My Mini Factory, but they probably ought to be if they're not. I found some local stores that are gatekeeping the games and make you feel like an idiot when you ask questions or express interest in getting into the game. Can depend on who's working. Yeah, those people should go to business. Like if a person comes in and is like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in this Warhammer thing or whatever, and they're like, you don't know how to play Warhammer? Then I'd be like, not from your store, and then I would go elsewhere, personally. That's just the way I would do it. Like, a store should be always welcoming. They should always be interested in letting, you know, like if you come in and you are swinging a sword above your head, I'm not going to be welcoming in that situation. I'm going to be like, I think you need to leave, or I'm going to call the police. So not in every situation do you need to be welcoming. If a person comes in covered in blood, but if a person comes in is like interested in like this thing and they want to learn more about it and potentially buy stuff, yeah, your job as a salesperson is to try to get them on board, and you know that just makes sense. Now, if you come in and you're like, I'm super interested in Warlord games, bolt action, let's say, or I'm super interested in Infinity, you know, from Corvus Belli or something like that. And the person's like, no, those games are trash. You shouldn't do that. You should definitely do Games Workshop. That's not what you asked for, is it? So there's that too. But very frequently, the reason they're doing that is because the only thing they carry is Games Workshop, because they're, you know, it's so, yeah. But if a store being gatekeepery is the dumbest thing a store can do, in my opinion. GW did put Spearhead for Age of Sigmar out for free. You didn't need to buy the Age of Sigmar book. Yeah, no, exactly. That's the whole idea behind Age of Sigmar, or sorry, it's the whole idea behind Spearhead and Combat Patrol, is that those things you shouldn't have to buy to get, like, I mean, you win the models or whatever, but you know, you don't have to buy the rules and stuff like that, which is why they just use the core rules document. But if you then wanted to play like larger 40K or larger Age of Sigmar, you wanted to build 1,000 point, 1,500 point, 2,000 point army, then at that point, you can still technically play with the core rules, but like I don't think you'd have any good scenarios and like all that other stuff that's also in the book besides the fluff. Then you're going to want to buy the book, evidently, and that's the way that they kind of do it. So you might think that you can get Warcrow as well as Infinity, but then my LGS gets plenty of Reaper Bones, but just won't get me any Cav. Like they don't want to, or because they're both from Reaper, right? Or did Cav split off as a separate company now? I don't remember. Cav used to be a separate company and then it got bought by Reaper, or the other way around. It used to be a Reaper company and then it split off. I don't remember. But in general, you would think if your distribution company, ACD, Alliance, etc., works with Corvus Belli, then when Corvus Belli makes a new product line, you would say, I would think they would carry it as well, unless maybe there's something about it that like Alliance or ACD or any of those other companies is like, yeah, we don't want that though. That would be weird, but it's possible, I suppose. All right, well, folks, I've gone a little long. That'll happen sometimes. It's 11:04 in my neck of the woods. So I want to thank everybody for coming by. At the very least, probably after I get done with my Trench Crusade models, I will at least start working on the Imperial war armigers or whatever. Working on 2 of those. I'll be doing it on Twitch so that I can then eventually have a combat patrol of those 2 these things, right? So if you're interested in you just like, hey, it would be kind of fun to have a combat patrol, but only paint 2 larger miniatures, and also save yourself some money, because if you can get them, a box of 2 of them is like $94.50, whereas most combat patrols I think are $168 now. Then maybe drop $11 or whatever this thing costs and get issue 509. You can't see it when I do that, can you? No. Yeah, issue 509 of White Dwarf, and do that. Now, if you want to do the chaos stuff, at least if you're in America, it's not current. Well, neither of them are currently available on the website, but you might be able to find them at your local store, though I can't. So that's something to look at as well. Yeah, but I'll at least be working on those because I already have them in stock. The loyalist ones, I have them in my basement in my stock. So I'll be working on those on Twitch coming up eventually. I got to build them first. So that's pretty much about it. I hope that everybody has a good rest of your day, and get the chance to do some hobby or whatever. That's cool. If you got some hobbying done while I was yammering at you, that's also very cool. And we'll see you folks again soon. I'll be streaming on Twitch tomorrow night, my time, 7 p.m. Central. So poke by over at twitch.tv/Tabletop Minions if you're interested. Follow me over there. You'll get a notification in theory. And yeah, so we'll see you again. I already know what Friday's video for this upcoming week is, so I got that already started. So that's cool. And we'll hopefully see some of you folks then. That's pretty much about it. Have yourselves a good day, and thanks for watching.